The metal door slid open with a soft hiss. Commander Jake Morrison walked into the small room carrying a cup of coffee in one hand and a datapad in the other. The room was bright white with no windows. A single table sat in the center with two chairs on each side. The alien sat in the far chair, its hands folded on the metal table. Jake had seen many aliens during the war, but this one was different. Its skin looked like blue crystal that caught the light. 4 arms moved slowly as it breathed. Its eyes were large and black, like looking into deep space. "Good morning," Jake said as he sat down. He placed his coffee on the table and looked at the datapad. "I am Commander Morrison. You are prisoner number 4471. The alien tilted its head. "I have a name, Commander Morrison. I am called Zixtal of the 47th Assault Phalanx." Jake looked up from his datapad. Most aliens they captured could only speak a few words of English. This one spoke clearly with no accent. "You speak our language well. I have been fighting your people for 7 cycles. One learns to understand the enemy." Zixtal leaned forward slightly. "But I am not sure who the real enemy is anymore." Lieutenant Amy Parker stood by the door. Her hand rested on her weapon. She had short brown hair and green eyes that watched everything. She had been with Jake for 2 years and knew when something was not normal. Jake took a sip of his coffee. "Let's start simple. What ship were you on when we captured you?" "The Harbinger of Truth, a battle cruiser in the Hegemony's 3rd Fleet." Zixtal's voice was calm. "But, Commander, I did not ask to speak with you to give you ship names or battle plans. What do you want to talk about then?" Zixtal was quiet for a moment. His 4 hands moved nervously on the table. "I want to tell you why your people terrify us." Amy shifted by the door. Jake raised an eyebrow. "Terrify you?" "Your ships are bigger than ours. Your weapons are more powerful. You have been winning this war for 3 years. That is what my commanders say. That is what they put in their reports." Zixtal's eyes seemed to get darker. "But I have been in 37 battles against humans. I have seen things that my people refuse to believe." Jake leaned back in his chair. In his 15 years as a military officer, he had questioned hundreds of prisoners. Most wanted to bargain for better treatment or to see their families again. Some tried to lie or give false information. This alien seemed different. There was something in its voice that sounded almost afraid. "Tell me about these things you have seen." Zixtal looked at Amy, then back at Jake. "Your scientists and generals, they think they understand war. They think it is about bigger guns and faster ships. They think it is about having more soldiers, isn't it? For every other species in the galaxy, yes. The Tauren fought us for 6 months before they surrendered. The Kolari lasted almost a year. The Voss held out for 2 years, but even they gave up when they saw they could not win." Zixtal's voice got quieter. "But humans... humans are different." Jake set down his coffee cup. "Different how?" "You do not fight like other species. You do not think like them. When other races see they are going to lose, they try to save what they can. They surrender to protect their families. They make deals to keep their planets safe." Zixtal's hands made a gesture that looked like confusion. "Humans do the opposite." Amy spoke from her position by the door. "What do you mean, the opposite?" Zixtal turned to look at her. "When humans are losing, they fight harder. When they are outnumbered, they laugh. When they should be afraid, they make jokes." His voice had a tone of wonder in it. "I do not understand it, but I have seen it many times." Jake had heard stories from other battles. Human soldiers who fought impossible odds and somehow won. Ships that should have been destroyed but kept fighting. He had always thought they were just war stories that got bigger each time they were told. "Can you give me an example?" "Yes. The first time I saw humans fight, Zixtal was quiet for a moment, as if remembering something from long ago. It was at Centauri Prime, a small colony world with maybe 50,000 people. Our fleet had 200 ships. We had plasma cannons and energy shields. We had 30,000 soldiers. Jake knew about Centauri Prime. It had been one of the first major battles of the war. The official reports said it was a costly victory for humanity, but they had held the planet. Our commanders told us it would be easy. They said humans were primitive. They said they used old weapons that fire metal bullets. They said human soldiers would run when they saw our superior technology. Zixtal's eyes seemed to focus on something far away. They were wrong about everything. What happened? We landed on the planet expecting to find scared colonists hiding in their homes. Instead, we found soldiers who had been waiting for us. Zixtal's voice changed, becoming softer. I was part of the ground assault team. We were to take the main city and secure the spaceport. Amy moved closer to the table. Jake could see she was interested in the story, too. The battle started normal. Our ships fired from orbit. Their ships fired back. We had better weapons, so we were winning the space battle. Then we landed our soldiers. Zixtal paused. That is when everything changed. How? I was in the third wave of assault troops. By the time we landed, the first two waves should have taken the city. Instead, we found them pinned down in the streets, taking heavy losses. Zixtal looked directly at Jake. Your people had turned the entire city into a trap. Jake leaned forward. A trap. Every building had soldiers in it. Every street corner had someone with a gun. They used the sewers to move around so we could not track them. They had explosive devices hidden everywhere. Zixtal's hands moved as he talked, painting pictures in the air. But that was not the strange part. What was the strange part? They were enjoying it. Zixtal said the words slowly, as if he still could not believe them. I could hear them on their communication channels. They were laughing. They were making jokes about how many of us they had killed. They were having fun. Amy and Jake looked at each other. Jake had heard soldiers joke during battle before, but he understood why an alien might find it disturbing. One group of humans was trapped in a building. We had them surrounded. They had no way out and no chance of winning. Any other species would have surrendered. Zixtal's voice got very quiet. But these humans started singing. Singing? A song about fighting and never giving up. They sang while they fought. They sang while they died. Zixtal looked at his hands. I have been a soldier for 15 cycles. I have seen many battles, but I had never seen anything like that. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the air system. Jake realized his coffee had gotten cold while he listened to the alien's story. That was my first battle against humans, Zixtal said. I thought it was strange, but that maybe those particular soldiers were unusual. Then I fought humans again, and again, and every time it was the same. The same how? They never give up. They never stop fighting. Even when they are dying, they try to take more of us with them. Zixtal looked up at Jake. Commander Morrison, I need to tell you something that my superiors do not want anyone to know. Jake waited. We are not winning this war. We are losing. And it is because we do not understand what we are really fighting against. Jake leaned forward in his chair. Tell me about that first battle. The details. Zixtal closed his large black eyes for a moment. When he opened them, he seemed to be looking at something far away. It was my first time fighting humans. I was young then, full of confidence. The hegemony had never lost a war. Amy moved her chair closer to the table. She wanted to hear every word. Our fleet arrived at Centauri Prime on what you call Tuesday morning. The planet looked small and weak from space. One main city, a few smaller towns, some farms. Our sensors showed maybe 200 human soldiers on the whole planet. Zixtal's voice became quieter. We thought it would be over in a few hours. How many soldiers did you have? Jake asked. 30,000 in the first wave. Another 20,000 in reserve. Zixtal's hands moved on the table. We had dropships, heavy, weapons, energy shields. Everything we needed to take a primitive world. Jake did some quick math in his head. 30,000 against 200 was not a fair fight. The landing went smooth at first. Our dropships came down in the fields outside the city. No one shot. At us, no explosions. Nothing. Zixtal paused. That should have been our first warning. Why? Because when we fight other species, they always try to stop us from landing. They shoot at our ships. They try to destroy us before we can get soldiers on the ground. Zixtal looked at Jake. But humans let us land. All of us. Amy spoke up. That seemed stupid. Why would they do that? I thought the same thing then. I thought humans were just bad at war. Zixtal made a sound that might have been laughter, but it was not happy. I was wrong. What happened next? We formed up our troops and started marching toward the city. Standard battle formation. Heavy weapons in front, regular soldiers behind them, air support overhead. Zixtal's eyes got that far-away look again. The first few miles were quiet, just us walking through empty fields. Jake waited for him to continue. Then we reached the edge of the city. There was a sign that said, "Welcome to New Chicago. Population, 47,000. Someone had added words to it in red paint. Zixtal looked directly at Jake. It said, "Come and take it." Come and take it? We did not understand what it meant then. Our translators said it was some kind of challenge. Zixtal's voice got softer. Now I know it was a promise. A promise? That they would make us pay for every street, every building, every room. Zixtal was quiet for a moment. And they did. Amy leaned forward. What happened when you entered the city? At first, nothing. The streets were empty. No people, no vehicles, no noise. Just empty buildings and silence. Zixtal's hands moved nervously. Our commanders thought the humans had run away. They were happy. They thought we would take the city without a fight, but they had not run away. No, they were waiting. Zixtal's voice became very quiet. I was in the 5th Company of the 2nd Battalion. We were supposed to secure the market district. 20 buildings, mostly shops and small offices. It should have been easy. Jake could see that remembering this was hard for the alien. We split into 4 groups. Each group took 5 buildings. My group went to the north side of the market. Zixtal stopped talking and looked at his hands. What happened to your group? We entered the first building. It was a clothing store. Empty racks, no people, nothing valuable. But it was too quiet. Zixtal looked up. Have you ever been in a place that was too quiet, where the silence felt wrong? Jake nodded. He had been in places like that during his military service. We were checking the back rooms when we heard it. Laughter. Quiet at first, then louder, coming from somewhere above us. Zixtal's eyes got wider. Human laughter. Someone was upstairs? Not. Someone. Several someones. And they were laughing at us. Zixtal's voice had confusion in it. I could not understand why. We had plasma rifles. We had energy armor. We had them outnumbered. What was funny? Amy and Jake looked at each other. They both knew that human soldiers sometimes laughed before. A fight, but it was hard to explain why. My squad leader, Korthvin, told us to go upstairs and capture the humans. We thought it would be simple. Zixtal shook his head. We were wrong again. What happened? We started up the stairs. Old wooden stairs that made noise when we stepped on them. Halfway up, we heard a voice, a human voice, speaking our language. Zixtal paused. Perfect hegemony standard, no accent. What did the voice say? "Hey, ugly blue guys. Yeah, you on the stairs. We have a surprise for you." Zixtal's voice changed as he repeated the words. "Hope you like fireworks." Jake felt a chill run down his back. Then the building exploded. Zixtal's voice was almost a whisper. Not the whole building, just parts of it. The stairs we were on, some of the walls, pieces of the ceiling. Like someone had placed explosives in exactly the right places. "Were you hurt?" I was thrown back down the stairs. My armor saved me, but 3 of my squad mates were not so lucky. Zixtal looked at his hands again. When the dust settled, I could hear that voice again. Still laughing. Still making jokes. The human was still alive and talking. He said, "Welcome to New Chicago, boys. We have been waiting for you." Zixtal's voice got stronger. Then he said something I will never forget. "What? This is going to be fun." Zixtal looked directly at Jake. He was about to fight 20 armed soldiers with better weapons and armor than him. He was trapped in a building with no way out. He was going to die, and he thought it was going to be fun. Amy shook her head. "That's crazy." "That is what I thought too. But then I met him." "You met him?" His name was Pete Collins. Sergeant Pete Collins of the Colonial Defense Force. Zixtal's voice had respect in it. He came down the stairs with his hands up, like he was surrendering, but he was smiling. Jake knew that name. Pete Collins was a legend in the Colonial Defense Force. He had died at Centauri Prime, but not before taking out an entire alien company by himself. He was not surrendering, Jake said. No, he was getting closer to us. Zixtal's hands moved as he talked. He walked right up to my squad leader and said, "Nice armor, buddy. Bet it's expensive." Then he pulled out a small device. "What kind of device?" "A grenade." But not a normal grenade. This one was made from parts of our own equipment. Zixtal's voice was full of wonder. He had taken pieces from our weapons and turned them into a bomb. Amy leaned back in her chair. "He made a weapon from your technology?" "In the middle of a battle. While we were shooting at him, he found time to build a better weapon." Zixtal shook his head. That was when I started to understand that humans were not like other species. "What did he do with the grenade?" He smiled at us and said, "Tell your friends Pete Collins sends his regards." Then he activated it. Zixtal's voice got very quiet. I was far enough away to survive, but barely. "He killed himself to stop you?" "He killed himself to stop 20 of us, and he was happy to do it." Zixtal looked at Jake. That was just the first building in the first hour of the first day. The battle lasted 6 more days. Jake felt his coffee cup, still cold. What happened in those 6 days? We learned that every human on that planet was like Pete Collins. They all fought like they were having the best day of their lives. They all made weapons from things they found lying around. They all refused to give up. Zixtal's voice was full of confusion. And they all died laughing. All of them? The soldiers, yes. But that was not the strangest part. Zixtal leaned forward. The civilians helped them. Old people, young people, even children. They brought food to the soldiers. They carried messages. They fixed weapons. They sang songs to keep spirits high. Amy spoke up. "That sounds normal for a war. Not like this. In other wars, civilians hide. They try to stay safe. They do not want to be part of the fighting." Zixtal's eyes got wide. But human civilians came out of their houses to cheer when our ships got shot down. They cheered when our soldiers got killed. They acted like it was a celebration. Jake thought about the stories he had heard from Centauri Prime. The planet had been evacuated after the battle, but the survivors always talked about how proud they were of their defense. By the end of 6 days, we had taken the planet, but we had lost 15,000 soldiers doing it. Zixtal's voice was bitter. 15,000 of our best troops, killed by 200 humans who should have been easy to defeat. That's when you knew humans were different? That's when I knew we were in trouble. Zixtal looked at both of them. Because if 200 humans could kill 15,000 of us, what would happen when we fought 2,000 humans? Or 20,000? The room was quiet for a long moment. That was 7 cycles ago, Zixtal said finally. Since then, I have fought humans 36 more times. And every single time, it was the same. They fight like they are having fun. They make weapons from nothing. They never give up. And they die laughing. Jake set down his coffee cup. Is that why you wanted to talk to us? To tell us we fight differently? No, Commander Morrison. I wanted to talk to you because of what happened after Centauri Prime. Zixtal's voice got very serious. I wanted to tell you what my commanders did when they read our battle reports. Jake set his empty coffee cup on the table. What did your commanders do with the battle reports? Zixtal's 4 hands moved together in what looked like anger. They changed them. Every single report that said humans were dangerous. Every report that said we lost too many soldiers. Every report that said humans fight differently. His voice got louder. They changed everything. Changed them how? They made it sound like we won easily. They said humans ran away from battle. They said we only lost a few hundred soldiers instead of 15,000. Zixtal's eyes seemed to glow with frustration. They lied to make themselves look good. Amy moved closer to the table. Why would they do that? Because the truth made them look stupid. The hegemony is supposed to be the strongest military force in the galaxy. We are supposed to win every battle without trying hard. Zixtal's voice was bitter. Losing 15,000 soldiers to 200 humans made us look weak. Jake understood. Military leaders often changed reports to make failures look like successes. But this seemed bigger than that. What about the other soldiers who fought at Centauri Prime? Did they say anything? At first, yes. Many of us tried to tell the truth. We wrote our own reports. We talked to other units about what really happened. Zixtal was quiet for a moment. But the commanders did not want to hear it. What did they do? They transferred us to different units. They sent us to fight in sectors far from human space. They told us to stop talking about Centauri Prime or face punishment. Zixtal's hands made fists on the table. Some soldiers who kept talking about it disappeared completely. Jake felt a chill. Disappeared? Sent to prison worlds. Demoted to basic ranks. Some were declared mentally unstable and removed from service. Zixtal looked directly at Jake. The message was clear. If you say humans are dangerous, bad things will happen to you. Amy leaned forward. But you kept fighting humans after that. I had no choice. I was a soldier. I went where they sent me. Zixtal's voice got quieter. But I never forgot what I learned at Centauri Prime, and I kept seeing the same things in every battle. The same things? Humans who fought like they were playing a game. Humans who made impossible weapons work. Humans who never gave up even when they were dying. Zixtal paused. And humans who always found ways to win battles. They should have. Lost. Jake wanted to hear more. Tell me about another battle. Kepler Station, a mining facility in the asteroid belt. The hegemony wanted the rare metals they were mining there. Zixtal's eyes got that faraway look again. Intelligence said there were maybe 50 human workers and 10 security guards. That sounds easy. That is what we thought. We sent one ship with 200 soldiers. Just a quick raid to take the station and capture the workers. Zixtal shook his head. We should have sent 1,000 soldiers. What happened? The humans had turned the entire mining station into a weapon. They used the mining equipment to fire rocks at our ship. They used the processing machines to make explosive devices. They used the transportation tubes to move around the station without us seeing them. Zixtal's voice had wonder in it. In 6 hours, they turned a peaceful mining station into a military fortress. Amy looked confused. How is that possible? Because humans see weapons everywhere. A mining laser becomes a cannon. A loading crane becomes a catapult. A pressure suit becomes armor. Zixtal's hands moved as he talked. They look at normal things and see ways to fight with them. Jake had heard stories about Kepler Station. The official reports said it was a heroic defense by civilian workers who held off a major alien attack. Who was leading the defense? A maintenance worker named Carl Johnson. He was not even a soldier. He fixed machines for a living. Zixtal's voice had respect in it, but he organized the defense like a military commander. How? He knew every part of the station, every pipe, every wire, every machine. He used that knowledge to set traps for us. Zixtal paused, and he taught the other workers to think like soldiers in the middle of a battle. That's impressive. It was more than impressive. It was impossible. Zixtal's voice got louder. No other species in the galaxy could do what those humans did. Take 60 civilians and turn them into effective soldiers in a few hours. Amy asked, what made them so effective? They worked together perfectly. No arguments, no panic, no confusion. Johnson would give an order, and everyone would follow it immediately. Zixtal's eyes were wide, and they all seemed to know exactly what to do without being told. Maybe they had trained for an attack? No. We checked their records later. They had never done military training. They had never practiced fighting together. They had never even talked about what to do if they were attacked. Zixtal shook his head, but somehow they knew. Jake was starting to understand why the aliens seemed so confused by human behavior. What happened to Carl Johnson? He died defending the control room, but not before he sent a message to every human ship in the system. Zixtal's voice got quiet. He told them exactly how to attack our ship and where our weak points were. He figured out your weaknesses during the battle? In 6 hours, he learned more about our technology than some of our own engineers know. Zixtal looked at his hands. When the human reinforcements arrived, they destroyed our ship in minutes because they knew exactly where to shoot. Amy leaned back in her chair. So you lost that battle too. We lost the battle, the ship, and most of our soldiers. But the official report said we successfully raided the station and withdrew when human reinforcements arrived. Zixtal's voice was bitter. Another lie to hide the truth. Jake was starting to see a pattern. How many battles like this have you been in? 37 total. We officially won 28 of them. Zixtal's eyes seemed to glow. But the truth is that we only really won 9. And most of those were because the humans ran out of ammunition or got overwhelmed by our numbers. What? About the other battles? We lost them all. Sometimes badly, sometimes barely, but we lost. Zixtal's hands moved nervously. And every time, the commanders changed the reports to make it look like a victory. Amy asked, didn't anyone question the reports? Some did. Junior officers who had been in the battles. Scientists who studied the wreckage. Intelligence analysts who saw the real numbers. Zixtal paused. But they were all told to stay quiet or face consequences. What kind of consequences? Demotion, transfer, imprisonment. Some were declared traitors and executed. Zixtal's voice got very quiet. The hegemony does not tolerate officers who make them look weak. Jake thought about what this meant. If the alien military was lying about their victories, then they might not be winning the war at all. Zixtal, are you saying the hegemony is losing this war? I'm saying that most hegemony soldiers are afraid to fight humans now. Not because of your weapons or your ships, but because of what you are. Zixtal looked directly at Jake. You are unpredictable. You are creative. You never give up. And you fight like you enjoy it. That doesn't sound like something to be afraid of. It is when you are used to fighting species that follow rules. Other races fight to achieve goals. They retreat when they are losing. They surrender when they are beaten. They make logical decisions based on facts. Zixtal's voice got stronger. Humans ignore facts. You fight when you should retreat. You attack when you should defend. You take risks that should get you killed, but somehow work. Amy spoke up. Maybe we're just better at adapting. It is more than that. You fight with something that other species do not have. Zixtal paused, seeming to search for the right words. You fight with your hearts, not just your minds. Jake wasn't sure what that meant, but he could see that the alien believed it was important. Can you give me another example? The defense of Mars, your home planet's moon. Zixtal's eyes got that distant look again. We attacked with our largest fleet. 500 ships and 100,000 soldiers. Jake knew about the Battle of Mars. It was considered one of humanity's greatest victories, even though they had been badly outnumbered. How many human ships defended Mars? 57 combat ships and maybe 20,000 soldiers. Zixtal's voice had awe in it. You were outnumbered 10-1 in ships and 5-1 in soldiers. But we won. You did not just win. You destroyed our entire fleet and captured 30,000 prisoners. Zixtal's hands moved excitedly. It should have been impossible, but you did it anyway. How? Because human commanders think differently than ours. Your Admiral Kate Stevens did things that our computers said were impossible. Zixtal's voice got louder. She split her fleet into small groups and attacked us from 12 different directions at once. She used civilian ships as decoys. She had soldiers hide in asteroids and attack our ships from behind. Jake smiled. Admiral Stevens was famous for her unconventional tactics. And the most amazing part was that every human ship followed her orders. Perfectly, even when the orders seemed crazy. Zixtal shook his head. Our captains would have questioned such orders. They would have demanded explanations. They would have wasted time arguing about tactics. Human military training emphasizes following orders quickly. It is more than training. Your people trust each other in ways that other species do not. Zixtal's voice was full of confusion. Even when the orders make no sense, humans follow them because they believe their leaders know what they are doing. Jake leaned forward. What happens when the Hegemony Council learns the truth? Zixtal was quiet for a long moment. His 4 hands moved nervously on the table. They will do what they always do when they face a problem they cannot solve with normal methods, which is, they will try to destroy all humans completely. Not just win the war, but make sure no humans exist anywhere in the galaxy. Zixtal's voice was very quiet. They call it the Final Solution Protocol. Amy felt a chill run down her back. What is that? When the hegemony cannot defeat a species through normal warfare, they use special weapons. Weapons that destroy entire planets. Weapons that kill everyone on a world in minutes. Zixtal looked at both of them. They have used it 7 times in the past 1,000 years. Jake had heard rumors about such weapons, but he had hoped they were just stories. What kind of weapons? Planet crackers. Atmosphere burners. Biological weapons that kill all life. Zixtal's hands made gestures of destruction. The hegemony keeps them secret, but every senior military commander knows about them. Have they talked about using these weapons on human worlds? Not yet, but I have heard conversations between my commanders. They are getting desperate. Zixtal's voice got stronger. The official reports say we are winning, but the truth is getting harder to hide. Amy asked, "What kind of truth?" Supply ships that never come back. Entire fleets that disappear. Battle groups that ask for reinforcements and then go silent. Zixtal eyes seem to glow. The hegemony has lost more ships fighting humans than they lost in the previous 5 wars combined. Jake did some quick thinking. If the aliens were losing ships at that rate, their military must be in serious trouble. How long before they cannot hide the truth anymore? Maybe 6 months, maybe less. Zixtal leaned forward. When the Council sees the real numbers, they will realize they cannot defeat humans through normal warfare. And then they will use these special weapons? Yes, they will vote to activate the final solution protocol. Zixtal's voice was full of fear. And then they will try to kill every human in the galaxy. The room was quiet for a moment. Jake could hear Amy breathing behind him. Why are you telling us this? Because I do not want to be part of genocide. Because I have learned to respect humans. Because you deserve a chance to defend yourselves. Zixtal's voice got passionate. And because I think you might be able to stop them. How could we stop weapons that destroy planets? Because you are humans. You do impossible things. Zixtal's eyes seemed to light up. I have seen you turn mining equipment into weapons. I have seen you defeat fleets 10 times your size. I have seen you win battles when everyone said you would lose. Amy spoke up, but those were normal battles. This sounds different. It is different, but humans are different too. Zixtal looked at her. Every other species that faced the final solution protocol accepted their fate. They tried to negotiate. They tried to surrender. They tried to run away. What happened to them? They all died. Every single one. Zixtal's voice was sad. But I do not think humans will do the same thing. Jake was starting to understand. You think we will fight back? I think you will find a way to win. Because that is what humans do. Zixtal's hands moved excitedly. You do not accept defeat. You do not give up. You find ways to turn your weaknesses into strengths. But how? Could we fight weapons that destroy planets? I do not know, but I believe you will find a way. Zixtal's voice was full of conviction. Because humans see solutions where other species see problems. Jake thought about all the stories Zixtal had told them. Humans turning everyday objects into weapons. Humans winning impossible battles through creativity and determination. Humans never giving up, no matter how bad things looked. What exactly do you want from us? I want to help you prepare. I know about hegemony technology. I know about their weapons and their weaknesses. I know about their military structure and their plans. Zixtal looked directly at Jake. And I know about the final solution weapons. Amy moved closer to the table. What kind of help are you talking about? Technical information about their ships and weapons. Strategic intelligence. About their fleet positions and supply lines. Warning about when they might activate the final solution protocol. Zixtal paused. And most importantly, information about how the weapons work and how they might be stopped. Jake realized this alien could be the most valuable intelligence. Asset humanity had ever captured. Why should we trust you? How do we know this is not some kind of trick? Because I am risking my life to tell you this. If the hegemony finds out what I am doing, they will execute me slowly and painfully. Zixtal's voice was serious. And because I have seen what happens when the final solution weapons are used, I do not want to see it happen again. You have seen them used? Once, against the Kethmari, a peaceful species that refused to surrender their homeworld. Zixtal's voice got very quiet. The hegemony used an atmosphere burner. It turned their entire planet into a ball of fire in 30 minutes. Amy felt sick. How many people died? 4 billion. Men, women, children, elderly. Everyone. Zixtal's hands shook slightly. The hegemony recorded it and showed the video to other species as a warning. Jake understood now why the alien was so afraid. What do you need from us to help? Protection. A new identity. A chance to live somewhere safe. Zixtal's voice was hopeful. And maybe, if possible, a chance to help fight against the hegemony. You want to fight against your own people? They stopped being my people when they started planning genocide. Zixtal's eyes seemed to glow with determination. I am a soldier, not a murderer. Jake looked at Amy, then back at Zixtal. If we agree to help you, what happens next? I give you everything I know. Ship designs, weapon specifications, fleet positions, communication codes. Zixtal leaned forward. And I help you understand how the hegemony thinks and fights. That could help us win the war. It could help you survive what is coming. Zixtal's voice was serious. Because win or lose, the hegemony will try to destroy all humans soon. Amy asked, how soon? Based on the conversations I have heard, maybe 4 to 6 months before they vote on the final solution protocol. Zixtal paused. Maybe less if they lose more fleets. Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see human ships preparing for another battle. Crews working to repair damaged vessels. Soldiers training for the next fight. There is something else, Zixtal said quietly. Jake turned around. What? The reason I think humans can win this war. The reason I believe you can stop the final solution weapons. Zixtal's voice got stronger. It is not just because you are creative or determined or brave. Then what is it? It is because you fight for something the hegemony does not understand. Something that makes you stronger than any weapon. Zixtal looked at both of them. You fight for each other. Amy asked, what do you mean? Every other species fights for territory or resources or survival. They fight because they have to. Zixtal's hands moved as he talked. But humans fight because you care about other humans. You fight to protect people you have never met. You fight for ideas like freedom and justice. Jake thought about all the human soldiers he had known. They did fight for abstract concepts as much as for practical goals. At Centauri Prime, Pete Collins did not die to complete a mission. He died to give other humans a chance to escape. At Kepler Station, Carl Johnson did not fight to save equipment. He fought to save his coworkers. Zixtal's voice was full of wonder. At Mars, Admiral Stevens did not just try to win the battle. She made sure every civilian was protected. Other species do that too. Not like humans. Other species protect their own families, their own tribes, their own planets. But humans protect strangers. You protect people from other planets. You protect people you disagree with. Zixtal paused. You even protect enemies who surrender. Jake realized the alien was right. Human military doctrine emphasized protecting civilians and treating prisoners well. That is why the hegemony cannot defeat you. They fight with fear and discipline and superior technology. But you fight with something stronger. Zixtal's eyes seemed to shine. You fight with love. Amy looked confused. Love? Love for other humans. Love for freedom. Love for the idea that everyone deserves a chance to live their own life. Zixtal. Voice got passionate. The hegemony uses fear to control their soldiers. But fear makes you weak when things get difficult. And love makes you strong? Love makes you willing to die for something bigger than yourself. Love makes you keep fighting. When logic says you should give up, love makes you find solutions that fear cannot see. Zixtal looked directly at Jake. That is why I believe humans will find a way to stop the final solution weapons. Jake walked back to the table and sat down. What do you need us to do first? Get me to Military Intelligence Division. Let me start sharing what I know about hegemony technology and tactics. Zixtal's voice was urgent. And start preparing your people for what is coming. What should we tell them? Tell them the truth. That the hegemony is planning to destroy all human worlds. That you have maybe 6 months to prepare. Zixtal paused. And tell them that an alien soldier believes they can win. Amy asked, why do you believe we can win?